Around the time when the United States treacherously and deceitfully forced Russia to attack Ukraine, after first taking away Ukraine's weapons and destroying all Ukrainian defense enterprises, my last connections with the residents of my intermediate homeland were being severed. We couldn't talk to some people because they claimed that only fascists live in Ukraine. Some people were simply afraid to talk on the phone, while others slowly began to fall under the influence of brainwashing propaganda. The purpose of talking to people I'd been friends with for years was gone. The only connection I still had with Russians was the comments from instantly recognizable residents of the Russian Federation who tried to persuade either me, my viewers, or maybe even themselves, maybe that Russia is the most peaceful, the friendliest, the kindest, and of course the freest country in the whole world. By all my reasoning, that's at least not entirely true. I didn't want to respond to each of them, and besides, I wasn't 100% sure that my information was correct, and it occurred to me to conduct some sort of investigation into what Russia is today, about freedom in Russia. Maybe something really has changed there so much that we, sitting across the pond, don't understand, meaning, well, either we don't see it or we don't want to see it. So, here are the results of my work called Mother Russia, or Russians Can't Be Understood with the Mind. Russia today is a country where you can lose your freedom for a thought, for a word, or even for simply searching the internet. The machine of repression is no longer just a collection of isolated excesses. It has become a well-organized system of intimidation aimed at everyone, at anyone who doubts, asks questions, or, God forbid, maintains connections with the outside world. Well, I immediately wanted to live there. And for you, the new normal is life under repression. In recent years, Russia has taken a sharp turn toward total suppression of dissent. According to human rights analysts, the number of convictions for politically motivated and anti-war charges has doubled compared to, say, the beginning of the war. It's not just the number of cases, but also their severity. If before many people got off with fines, suspended sentences, or various administrative penalties, now more and more often sentences mean actual imprisonment. In the first half of 2025, the share of sentences with actual prison terms under repressive articles approached 2/3. This means the logic changes. The goal is not just to intimidate, but to break people, to make fear a background state of life, just like we in the Soviet Union knew not to talk too much. The analytical project Russia, based on official court statistics, showed how quickly the number of politically motivated sentences is growing according to their repression index, as well as the number of people convicted under the so-called repressive basket of articles. These include treason, terrorism, extremism, army-related fake news, and discreditation. Do you understand what I'm talking about? It looks like this. In 2021, 1,120 people. In 2024, 2,120 people. And in the first half of 2025, excuse me, how many already? You're right, 2,000 people. Even more important is how the severity of punishments is changing, the share of sentences with actual prison terms under these articles. In 2021, it was 40%, and in the first half of 2025, it's 67%. This reflects the typical practice of the police in Voss. From there, KGB Cistera, publication Adeko Wodzoli. They follow the evidence. They initiate cases for discrediting the army. The phone as evidence of guilt. Today in Russia, the phone has stopped being a personal space. The digital control system, borrowed from China and created even before the war, after 2022 has turned into a full-fledged tool of mass surveillance. Phone checks on the streets, at rallies, on public transport, at checkpoints, and especially at the border have become frighteningly routine. Criminal cases are initiated not only for public posts, a repost, a like, a meme in a family chat, or even a private conversation can become grounds for prosecution. If the investigation finds discrediting of the army or spreading fake information about the actions of the armed forces there, tell the truth and you instantly become an enemy. Imagine an ordinary scene. A person is going on vacation. He's stopped at this checkpoint. What's it called? He's driving a car and this checkpoint stops him. They check, ask to unlock the phone, scroll through the messengers, find a joke about the war, and then the conveyor belt of examinations, protocols, and interrogation starts. Editor crime reading. The next stage is the criminalization not only of statements, but also of simply searching for information. The new law allows punishment for reading and searching for materials that are considered extremist. So if something like that pops up for you and you read it, so it turned out to be extremist or fake, even if someone didn't post or share anything, they're still considered a criminal. Reading becomes a potential crime. It's enough to be subscribed to the wrong source or open the wrong text. The internet, which was once a space of relative freedom, is becoming a closed, censored, and tightly controlled environment. Every search, every click on a link, every subscription can become evidence for an investigation. Yeah, you knew, you read, you were interested, so that means you're an enemy. They aren't pursuing criminal cases for anti-war views. After the start of the full-scale war, special articles about fakes about the army and about discrediting the armed forces were added to the criminal code. Almost everything falls under them. For example, if you wrote the word war somewhere, but we don't have a war, we have a special military operation, and what if you even mention civilian casualties in references to international organization investigations or reports? The enemy is an active enemy. You need to be isolated and put in prison for several years. According to anti-rights projects, since 1922, tens of thousands of people have gone through detention and persecution for their anti-war stance, inactivity, or position. And the number of convictions under anti-war articles went from single digits in the first year to hundreds in the following years. Not only street protesters, ladies and gentlemen, are targeted, but also those who act legally. Their politicians, activists, and local deputies are prosecuted for being part of the anti-war movement, for giving interviews to undesirable organizations, for sharing links to international data on casualties, and, God forbid, for discussions in public chats. Oboini, foreign influence, and relatives abroad. There's a separate layer of repression, which is the fight against so-called foreign influence, a separate one with what's called foreign. The law on foreign agents is no joke, and there's a new law on controlling individuals under foreign influence. Look at how it's developing. It's been broadly expanded so that almost any connection with the outside world can fall under it. Now, foreign influence is considered not only direct funding, but also any assistance, consultation, or informational interaction with foreign organizations. For people whose relatives have moved abroad, this creates a new dimension of fear. Children assist parents with money transfers, parents join online meetings, and someone answers a journalist from abroad. All these actions can be interpreted as signs of foreign influence. No, the status of a foreign agent is not just a label, it's a restriction on your profession, on participation in public life, on normal economic activities. Well, again, all of this exists in China, they just took it all from China. As a result, the family faces a choice to maintain close ties with those who have left, risking getting caught up in the repressive system, or to distance themselves in order to minimize the authorities' attention. This is exactly what the regime is trying to achieve, to make the outside environment toxic and to turn the migration of family members into a stigma. And, of course, to strike not only at those who have left, but also at those who have stayed. Searches and full access to private life. Repressions manifest themselves not only in courts and sentences, but also in a very physical, tangible experience. Searches are conducted at the homes of journalists, human rights defenders, activists, people accused of justifying terrorism or spreading anti-war fakes, and sometimes even those who simply came under suspicion A search is not just about looking for evidence, it's also a demonstration of power. An early morning visit, a broken down door, a ransacked apartment, confiscated phones and computers, access to personal photos, messages, and documents. Well, it's a signal, that the state can enter your home at any moment and take away anything, including your sense of security. Meanwhile, police and special service powers are expanding. New legal regulations allow them to restrict movement, access to money, control banking operations, and in some cases, physically enter your home at any moment without judicial oversight. This is how a new reality is being formed, where a person lives under constant conditional search, never knowing when this conditional regime will become real. Why do we need this machine? All these steps have a clear internal logic. First of all, the repressive system serves the war. It's only possible to conduct a long, costly, and unpopular conflict without openly discussing its meaning and cost under strict censorship and intimidation. Any question about the war's goals, losses, or army corruption is seen as a threat to the regime, and it truly is. Secondly, this is a strategy of preemptive fear. A nice term, yes, preemptive fear. The increase in the share of real prison sentences shows that the authorities are deliberately moving from softer forms of pressure to harsher ones. The goal is not just to punish dissenters, but to create an information environment in which the majority won't even want to, simply won't dare to become dissenters. To become curious, to want to read something, to want to learn something, God forbid, to actually learn something. Thirdly, it's a way to control emigration and the diaspora. Those with opposition views are pushed out, but through laws about foreign agents and foreign influence, they hold hostage those who remain inside the country. This is how the connection with the outside world turns into a tool for blackmail. Where you move to, there's freedom, yes, but your family is here. So think a little about what's more important to you. Today's Russian reality is a world where a phone call, a transfer from abroad, a subscription to the wrong channel, or simply the desire to know the truth can become a trigger for a criminal case. It's a world where the state deliberately builds an infrastructure of fear for years to come, linking war, domestic policy, and people's personal lives into a single chain of control. And while this machine keeps gaining momentum, everyone is left with the same question. How do you live when even silence, no longer guarantees safety? Here is my small investigation, a very unscientific look at freedom in the homeland of the most progressive paralysis in the world, the Führer or leader, or maybe the first among equals, or simply the most equal somewhere up in the heavens. And the whole system is built in such a way that no one would even dare to think that his decisions could be wrong or, God forbid, harmful to the system. It doesn't matter who the Führer is. What matters is that he exists and that people are forced to pray to him. And if you don't pray, if you don't shout until you're hoarse, if you don't cry with happiness when you say his name, they'll rot you away and eat you up as well. That's how it was under Ivan Grozny, under Boris Godunov, under the Romanovs and the Rurikids, under the Miloslavskis, I think even the Svetogors, under the Brezhnevs and Molotovs, and Djugashvili and Putin and Nikolai Sergeyevich. And it will be the same, even if Abram Moiseyevich ascends the throne, whoever he may be. Because Russia is a country of slavery, and a slave imagines a happy future as a whip that passes into his hands, so that he is not the one being beaten, but the one who beats, and not the one who kisses, but the one whose toes are kissed. He doesn't want freedom. A slave wants to climb to the top of the pyramid of power and surround himself with loyal watchdogs, oprikniks, and lie awake at night, fearing someone might cut, strangle, or poison him. From time to time, people ask me in the comments, Why don't you like Russia? I don't like Russia because everyone from the bottom to the top, both those who fight against the authorities and those who fight for power, are slaves at heart and in their behavior. So that's why I don't like it and I despise it. No matter what nightclubs they have there in Moscow, no matter what palaces they build, no matter how much Kafka and Sartre they read, I checked that with my own unscientific investigation. If it had ever been written in a textbook as a raw and not we, I can definitely say RKA. Alas, and lackeys, by the way, yes, lackeys too, not just slaves, but also lackeys. But yes, I love it, of course, I love it, I really, really do love it.